Well, thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the session about Chegg's journey with AWS and New Relic. I'm joined by Steve Evans here, who is an SVP of Platform Engineering at Chegg, and we're going to talk a little bit about the crucial role that observability is playing in enhancing customer satisfaction and achieving business objectives at Chegg. So, Steve, hopefully you're having a good show so far. And let's start maybe for the folks that may not be familiar with Chegg, just introducing Chegg a little bit, telling them what does Chegg do, and maybe your scale, and what's your tech stack?
So who here knows Chegg? Yeah, you can kind of tell based on age. It's either you're young enough or you're old enough that you have kids in college. So we're the world's leading ed tech. We help college students be successful on their academic journey. We're most well known for doing textbook rentals. We actually don't do those anymore because no one has textbooks anymore. But we provide a service, I often describe it, it's Stack Overflow for college students. We serve about 7+ million students, 100% AWS shop. And we're continuously innovating on how to provide and help students on their academic journey.
Awesome. I mean, 7 million students is quite a number, right? And I definitely can say from New Relic's side, we do see that when they are having their finals, and we can see the traffic go up. So awesome. So as a leader in EdTech, maybe talk to us a little bit about what are the kind of key business objectives for Chegg?
Yeah, I mean, so our number one priority is the student. Nada mentioned they can see the traffic go up during finals and midterms. It's really important for us to be available when the student needs us. So I bet you most of you could guess what our traffic pattern looks like. Basically, Sunday night's our biggest night, followed by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. On Friday and Saturday nights, we could shut the website off and no one would notice. And then they're catching up on Sunday night again, and the cycle starts over. The other cycle, which is probably more important, is midterms and finals. And so when students come to us as they're getting ready for their midterms and finals, availability and being available for them with a high quality experience is mission critical. The other piece that's super critical for us is, especially in a post-ChatGPT world, we've got a lot of market pressures competing against ChatGPT, and driving feature innovation for the students is super important. And so not only understanding what it is that the student needs and building those features, but then also offloading from our development teams the operational burden of running the site is super important, which is where New Relic helps us.
Awesome. Yeah. My son is a second year in college, and it's fascinating to see what software can do. That we can see even their procrastination patterns on Chegg, right? Obviously, the focus is on the customers. In your case, the students, ensuring that you are providing them with study tools when they need them. Maybe tell us a little bit about how is observability helping you achieve those goals?
Well, how many people here are in a microservices environment? Can I see that clicker?
Oh, yeah, yep.
I'm tired of seeing my face. Just at one? Come on. So I think you all know that as we go down this microservices path, complexity goes through the roof, right? What used to be a relatively simple, I can look from, this thing talks to this thing, all of a sudden for the same transaction, we're going through 4, 5, 6 services. And so, I mean, first of all, New Relic gives us really strong operational observability of how the site functions. In the real world, what's actually talking to what. That's super important for us. The second piece is New Relic is our eyes on how things are going. So both from are we up, what's healthy, what's starting to struggle, what features that we are releasing are performing well, aren't performing well, et cetera. So it's really a key part of our entire operational journey.
Yeah, and you talked a little bit about how important time to market is
Yeah.
for Chegg. So I want to get back to that and maybe talk to us a little bit about specific benefits that you've been able to see as it relates to time to market.
Well, I mean, part of that's what I just talked about, of the development team having a really strong understanding of how we actually operate in the real world and tying that back to their development experience. There's also like much more nuanced versions of this, like we do a lot of instrumentation of our CI/CD pipelines so that we can improve them over time. So not necessarily something you would automatically think about an observability platform for, like that's not why we have New Relic, but it's a really nice add-on at a place that we can send telemetry data about our build and deploy pipelines and make continuous improvement on that over time. There's things like our ability to release things in an experiment and track how those experiments are performing, not so much from the take rate from a customer perspective, but just are they performing? Are we getting good response times, low error rates, all that kind of stuff? When you're at a 1% test, it's really easy to lose sight of, you might be having a really poor experience inside of that cell. And so New Relic gives us that vector of how individual test cells are doing, and so we can alert based off of, even if it's a small percentage of users, they're actually really important to us because we're driving that feature. And so if we accidentally think this feature didn't perform well, when it was really just poor operational performance, it can really send us in a tizzy for a few days.
Yeah, very good. And the other benefit you talked about is availability for students and overall their experience, right? I'm sure that everybody that is looking at this slide and the MTTR of reducing MTTR by 87%, right? I'd say it's just a great outcome, right? So maybe tell us a little bit about what did that journey look like?
Yeah, I mean,
you didn't get there overnight, right?
No, but I should start off by admitting that we started from a really bad place. So that helps you get a number like 87%. But essentially, we were a fast-growing company. We had gotten behind the 8 ball on availability. And so the starting place was just some basics, right? Making sure everything's instrumented, that we have the proper alerting in place, that we have not only looking at service by service level, but also looking at it from a overall student health perspective. Synthetics and what's the actual user flow and all that's healthy. I think another big piece of this journey was continuous learning, making sure that when we had failures that we learned from them, that we, sometimes it was we had a gap in instrumentation, we didn't have observability of what was going wrong. Sometimes it was we didn't react the right way, or part of our development processes allowed us to ship things that weren't quite up to the standards that we require. I think a big piece of it was really, buying versus building the observability solution here. So partnering with New Relic really took off from us when I showed up at Chegg, we had 3 different, and this isn't a joke, 3 different centralized logging platforms, which I pointed out wasn't grammatically possible to the team at the time. But really just moving away from this, I'm going to, as a ed tech company, provide a high value observability platform, and moving towards how can I partner with a vendor to take that burden off, and I can really focus on the Chegg specific, student specific needs, was really a big part in moving that needle over time. Ultimately, it's a culture of are we going to be professionals? Are we going to be a winning team or not? And a lot of times it just comes back to are we going to do the basics to do the right thing over time, pay attention to what the data is telling us, and then do the right thing based off of that?
Yeah, no, great. And to that end, obviously managing performance and innovation for a digital SaaS company that Chegg is, right? I think a key part of this is then what best practices or what advice do you have for somebody that is maybe just starting on their observability journey, right? Or it's kind of in early stages of that journey?
Yeah, I think you have to start with the business. Like, what does the business need? And I think that's really important because if you don't start from what the business needs, you're going to end up in a boat where you're competing against something, right? So, a quick comparison. I used to work at a company, we did diagnostic tests for cancer patients. Doctors would send us literally in the mail a tissue sample, we'd sequence the genome, we'd send it back. It was about a 2-week process. And so getting highly focused on availability wasn't quite the right metric. Reliability of data, reliability of making sure the orchestration process was correct, that we didn't return the wrong patient result, super, super important, right? Highly aligned with what the business needs were. In that environment, if I tried to drive 4 nines of availability, it doesn't really move the needle for the business. So now you're competing against what the business is trying to do to grow and what your technical, this is the right thing to do is. And so I think the more nuanced version of that is like, what parts of your business actually need to be up? And what parts would you like to be up, right? And focus your energy on the right parts and move the needles in those ways, right? So for example, we have a ecosystem where student logs in, they can post a question, they get a step-by-step solution, all really critical to the learning journey of a student, especially during midterms or finals. We have another part of the systems where students with their subscription can get access to HBO, it's called Max now, formerly known as HBO, or DoorDash. Not exactly critical to the success of the business. And so tying those things together of like, what do I need to do to make the business successful? Super, super important. I think finding the right partner and building with them in this space is really important. You're not going to like this, but, well, you might like it. The thing I like most about New Relic is the account team and the people behind it. It's really good technology, but like observability platforms are just a bunch of data, and unless you have the capability to understand what it's putting out there, what it's trying to tell you, it's not super helpful, right? I sometimes think about like when I'm getting off the plane and you kind of look into the cockpit and you see all these dials, right? I can have all that data and have no idea what's going on. Unless I can see the horizon and I know how soon we're going to crash, like I know nothing, right? And in some ways it's not quite as complex, but it's kind of the same idea of I can have a lot of numbers coming at me, but without your development team being involved in that day-to-day operations of it, it's just numbers, and they're not going to be able to drive those insights, right?
Yeah.
And I think the last thing is, like, you really have to like observability, reliability. It's a team sport. You wouldn't say on a basketball team, well, these players won and these players lost, right, on the same team. It's like the team wins or the team loses. If you've got a weak infrastructure resiliency, guess what? Like, that's like no one can be successful on top of that. If you've got amazingly reliable infrastructure, but the application teams are failing, guess what? Like the student doesn't care at the end of the day, or the customer doesn't care. And so really making sure you've got a holistic, team-driven approach to resiliency, to operational success, et cetera, I think is super important.
Yeah, no, I definitely like it. I mean, I'll take that we take a great pride in being a partner to our customers rather than a vendor, and part of that team that you're talking about too. Obviously you've gone a long way on your...
We've got like 3 more slides. I thought they were going to rotate. Here, you can look at this one now.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, my next question is just going to be maybe talk about the impact that using observability has had on Chegg.
Yeah, so I get these questions in advance, of course, and I think the note I made on this one was like, the impact of New Relic is unquantifiable for us, because it's really, it's like asking a fish what water is. Like New Relic is really like our go-to place. Outside of an IDE and Jira, it's probably the thing our developers spend the most time in. And so it's really hard to put in terms of like, what would we do with, I have no idea what we do without it. We've actually done some like napkin exercises of like, okay, what if we get rid of New Relic? And we either do something ourselves, or we just like, we try to quantify the like cost benefit ratio. It's just like undefinable, right? I mean, in a lot of ways, it would be like saying like, what if we just stopped using AWS and just go back to a data center? Like, it's just not feasible for us. So
okay.
I don't really have a great answer for that one.
Okay, well, we'll see. Thank you, Steve. I always appreciate talking to you.
Wait. They have more slides to look at.
I always learn more from you, and I hope our audience today did. For all of you out there, if you are on your observability journey, maybe you're starting, doesn't matter where you are, come talk to us. New Relic's booth is in that direction. You can talk to us here at re:Invent, or or you can reach out to us online. We know that managing and monitoring your application performance, your resources, your cloud costs at scale on AWS is a challenging task at times. And we are definitely looking to help customers and folks out there on that journey, and to partner with you and AWS on that front. A lot of times what we hear from our customers that those implementations can be multi-steps, right? Which adds operational burden. It can, the steps could be things like, hey, how do I ingest this telemetry or acquire the telemetry? We got to build some dashboards and alerts or set up SLAs. So there are a lot of different steps here, right? Then some of the monitoring observability vendors, others I would say, may require you to manually go and tag your AWS resources, which is not only time consuming, but it's also error prone. And really results in blind spots, which is not what you want, in order to provide the best possible experience to your customers. So with New Relic, we've gone an extra length to ensure that we can help the users ramp up really quickly, and that we can deliver value for all of the users really quickly. And with that, really a couple of specific things as it relates to AWS that we have put in place to help with that is one-step AWS onboarding, which will basically automatically instrument all your logs, all your metrics, leveraging cloud formation templates, as well as agentless EC2 monitoring. The other part of this is also that we automatically map the relationships between all your dependencies, so your applications, your services, your infrastructure, so that you don't have to do that manual tagging, right? We will correlate the performance across all of those resources so that when you need it the most, you have that information at your fingertips and you can address the issues quickly and resolve them quickly for your customers. Last part that I wanted to add, we out of the box provide support for open source standards, if that is the way you want to go. So OTel, Prometheus, as well as more than 100 plus AWS integrations, so that you can get seamless AWS as well as AWS and observability experience, and that you can very quickly triage, prioritize, and address your performance issue. So again, thank you so much for joining us today. Come talk to us at the New Relic booth here at the re:Invent, and if you can't, or you are too busy running around, there's so many booths, then reach out to us online. Thank you so much.